In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. I recently found out that my wife has been cheating on me with a coworker. I feel culpable and very conflicted about couples counseling. We've been together for 6 years, married for 3, no kids. Note that my wife is an objective 10/10 bombshell and gets hit on at work all the time by everyone, young, old, rich, poor. I'm a quite liberal guy. I've accepted that this is going to happen forever and trusted her to handle it gracefully. Wife came home pissed drunk the other night. Based on previous behavior, I was suspicious. Went through her phone and found DMs from the one person she shouldn't have DMs with. There was a previous confrontation about this dude 2.5 months ago. A coworker propositioned her, whereafter I demanded she block his number, all social media, and break contact. She agreed. She very clearly stopped at some point. The DMs were incriminating. I confronted her the following morning asking to see her phone. She tried to keep it out of reach and went straight into Insta. I grabbed it. She eventually released her grip. She'd apparently woken up in the middle of the night and deleted the thread. I read for her the captions and simply asked her to just tell me the truth. At this point, I knew they were flirtatious, but not that they'd smashed. A few minutes into it, she confessed. According to her, the first 3 times were in early July. The most recent 2 were when I was out of town for 4 days exactly 3 weeks ago. Culpability. I graduated from a fancy grad program in May 2018. Due to anxiety, self-loathing, and abuse of alcohol, I haven't done stuff with the past year. I've delayed my licensure exam twice now, which is shameful at best, and I haven't held more than a side job since graduating mainly because of the hours required to study for the exam. It's been bad and it's been worse. I've been a piece of crap. I feel I bear the majority of the responsibility for bringing about a situation in which my wife would think to cheat. I was dismissive, gained weight, made empty promises to change, and neglected her in disgraceful ways. I admit and accept all of that and hate myself for it. What I can't do is reconcile that reasonable culpability with her actions, especially the most recent ones. Change. 6 weeks ago, she came to me with the notion of a trial separation. I became irate, rejected the premise, and promised to change my behavior. She agreed to wait it out and give it a shot. Since then, the drinking is under control by anyone's measure. I've steadily come into a heavy gym routine, and, for the first time in a very long time, barring this news, I feel optimistic about finally getting my stuff together. Namely, I can't stomach the shame of putting off, let alone failing this exam. I know I'm capable of passing. It just takes time. If it kills me, I'll do it. In the time since then, it's been evident to me for various reasons that she's not completely there. I see now it's because she was hiding this sporadic affair. Says she had no real feelings for him. Not someone she's ever considered leaving me for. It was just exciting and fun, whereas nothing in our relationship to that point was giving her those things. Reaction. Honestly, there's more to it. 2.5 years ago, on the odd bender one day, I Skyped an ex-fling. We didn't speak regularly, but I knew that, with her, whatever I wanted was always on the table and I messed up. It was simply a one-time carnal thing. No persisting dialogue. I passed out after and she found some screenshots on my phone. I now understand that to be a form of cheating in itself. Nothing like it ever happened again, but she certainly hasn't forgotten. And there's yet more. I'd been in an anxiety and alcohol-driven depression for years. It's seen its worst points last summer and between late May through the end of August of this year. That is to say, while I can't excuse it, I can fully understand why she felt unattracted to me and driven away, checked out, or what have you. We've spoken calmly, although perhaps not as rationally as I'd hoped, about what happens going forward, now that the truth is on the table. The conclusion so far is this: we'll give it an indefinite chance from here on out, up until the point that it's clear to either of us that the whole thing is beyond repair. My thoughts? I don't know what I think. I still very much love her to death. I can think of no one I'd rather have for a life partner and the mother of my future children. I feel an absurdly wide range of emotions surrounding this whole thing, but at the base of it all is guilt and shame in realizing that my actions contributed so greatly to the degradation of our relationship in the first place. Furthering the shame is that I have no idea what someone does in exactly my situation in order to maintain some semblance of dignity in the eyes of their partner. I've read that when it comes to infidelity, there are 2 types of people, those who can get past it and those who can never get the image out of their heads and can't get past it for that reason. However angry and lost I am, I know myself to be the former. We had a break before we eloped and slept with other people. Didn't bother either of us in the least. That is, the actual fucking doesn't compare even slightly to the betrayal of trust thing, her lies to cover it up previously when confronted on other occasions, and her actively covering up even after confessing. Confrontation. While I welcome your comments generally, I do indeed have a question. Should I confront this guy? I know his name and what he looks like. My thought is to demand that my wife ask to meet him somewhere public. When he agrees, and he will, I'll walk up to greet him. I want to do this for 3 reasons. 1, to ask him whether they used condoms, because I really don't trust my wife to tell me the truth about that and STDs are real, man. 2, just to say my piece. To let him know what an indefensible thing he did and actively continues to attempt to do. And 3, I know that I'm well past the point of losing my wife's respect. I'm literally working my ass off to get that back. I think that some part of it, of my manhood, whatever that means in 2019, will be gone forever if I don't, at the very least, face the man. I have no intention of getting physical. I wouldn't raise my voice or make a scene. I simply want to hear from his mouth that they used protection and I want to say my piece, however that manifests. Is this an awful idea? Plus I also want to ask for her social media passwords so I can access the accounts at random for the next month, because that's how they were communicating. Is that an awful idea? Or is it reasonable to keep her accountable? I honestly don't know. TLDR, I've been an anxiety-stricken alcoholic for 2 years, but managed to pick up a fancy graduate degree and still have some good times alongside my wife, who I've admittedly neglected and ignored. Alcohol abuse and self-loathing got worse in the last year and I've accomplished very little in that time. Wife confronted me 6 weeks ago with a possible trial separation which she decided not to pursue just yet. Wake-up call, alcohol is very much back under control, hitting the gym very hard, generally better disposition. For the last 6 weeks, my wife and I have been getting along much better, although I absolutely tend to smother her because I feel so apologetic. 2 days ago, I found DMs between her and a guy I knew liked her. Confronted wife about DMs. She confessed they'd slept together 3 times in July and twice when I was out of town 3 weeks ago. I feel culpable, but also betrayed. What now? And is it really stupid to confront the dude? I do not plan to confront the guy. Nothing good can come from that. She's quitting her job this weekend. While the first advice received is go to couples counseling, I'm apprehensive, at least immediately. As of this moment, I really can't be fool sitting down in front of someone together to relive the issues that have affected our relationship only to be told that the solution is for me to stop drinking, get in shape and get my career on track. I already know that and I don't need help taking action to those ends. Part of me also just wants to prove to myself, and my wife, that I can set this in motion without help. As for the type of therapy, there seem to be all kinds and I'm completely in the dark about which would be right for us. I also don't feel comfortable running the risk of just one person making an assessment on our relationship and telling us it's beyond repair. I want us to be the ones to make that decision for ourselves without being told it's inevitable. As to whether it is or not, I'm unsure. Did couples counseling help you repair your relationship after infidelity? Did it fail to? What was the first session like? TLDR, wife cheated and I found out. Don't know whether couples therapy is the right call right now. How did it affect your coping with infidelity? Story 2. I cheated. Now trying to rebuild trust and need advice. Hi all. My boyfriend and I are trying to work through issues that have arisen as a result of things I've done. We were together for 4 months, then he broke up with me. We've been on, off since then, so technically I guess we've been together for 7 months. Long story short, I cheated on him. We broke up and I immediately started dating a guy from dating apps. We got back together but I continued seeing this other guy. We kissed and sexted. I drip-fed the truth to my boyfriend the entire time, initially saying I'd never met up with the guy but then eventually admitted we kissed. We tried to work through it, but even then I was being deceitful. Boyfriend asked if I was still talking to this other guy. I said no and showed him my phone but I'd actually deleted the messages. When I eventually admitted everything to my boyfriend, he broke up with me again at the end of May. I then slept with the other guy, but even during that time I was still messaging my boyfriend asking him to please give me another chance because I loved him. We met up and he asked me whether anything else happened with this guy and initially I lied. I then eventually admitted I'd slept with him and was still talking to him. Some other stuff happened between, but the stage we're at now is that we want to try and make it work and rebuild trust. The other issue is that I cheated in my previous relationship too. The extent of it was far worse. I was with someone for 3 years and I had an affair for most of it. It's the only other time I've cheated, but I have a history of it. I've repeatedly shown myself to be someone who is capable of lying and not being loyal and I never took accountability for it. I have recognized that I have attachment issues around male validation and lots of other factors that have played into why I have done the things I did. I lost both my parents at a young age and they were my only family, so I don't have a family anymore. Had an eating disorder for 15 years and had extremely low self-esteem, so I looked to men for validation, was in an emotionally abusive relationship. The list goes on. But I always just use these as excuses that I'd tell myself to justify my actions. I've never actually taken accountability. Things I have done and doing to try rebuild trust. No one in my life knew I'd cheated in my 3-year relationship. I met up with all my friends one-on-one to tell them everything and try to take accountability. I have started going to therapy on a weekly basis to work through my issues. I am sharing everything with my boyfriend. He can look at my phone whenever he wants. I have cut off everything with the other guy completely. I sent him a very clear message telling him I never wanted to hear from him again and then blocked him on everything. Constantly reassure my boyfriend whenever he needs it. Always be available if he messages, calls, no matter what I'm doing. I'm doing this because I want him to know that I have nothing to hide and won't ever be able to not take his calls. Have told him he can have passwords to my social media if he wants them. He hasn't asked for it, but I would willingly give it. Answer any questions he has and never lose patience. Actively recognize negative behaviors I've had, especially around male validation, and am focusing only on my female friendships. Create a distance between me and any male friends and setting boundaries. One recently asked to meet up who I know has a crush on me and I messaged back I'm trying to make things work with so I don't think we should hang out anymore. We live about an hour apart and he mostly used to come over to mine. For the last 3 weeks, I have exclusively been going over to his because I've said that I'm the one who needs to make the effort. Thoroughly researched infidelity and rebuilding trust and tried to follow advice and guidance I've read. Offered to pay for couples counseling. He asked me what's changed. Why did you decide to want to make changes, work on things? And there are various reasons. Talking to my friends and admitting the bad things I've done has helped me to reflect. They've asked me difficult questions, pointed things out, and while it's been hard and I've been scared that I might lose people along the way, I do think it's been necessary for me to recognize and own my mistakes. Therapy has made me recognize and address issues I have. It's changed the way I see myself, the way I think about things, and made me realize that there's no justifying bad actions, that I have to accept I've done bad things and not make excuses. Just try to be better going forward. The way I feel about my boyfriend. I've never been with anyone I could imagine spending the rest of my life with. I've always been afraid of commitment, but for some reason with him, the idea of living together, getting married, having kids is genuinely something I want. Understandably, he's finding it really difficult to rebuild the trust. He is still worried I'm talking to this other guy and it's hard to prove I'm not when I previously deleted messages. I deleted his number from my phone, messages off WhatsApp so that I don't have it, but that's not really good enough when I've done so much damage. I've been a terrible person for years and I've caused so much pain. I do genuinely feel a change in myself because of the things I've been doing over the last few weeks to try and be a better person. Being honest with my friends and therapy has made me take accountability and own up to all of the horrible things I've done without trying to justify it or make excuses. I really am trying to be better and I'm doing everything I can to make up for my mistakes. I love my boyfriend so much and I honestly can't believe what I put him through. I feel guilty about it every single day. I know everyone generally always says once a cheater, always a cheater, but I really don't ever want to do that to anyone ever again. Even if things don't work out with my boyfriend, I never want to hurt someone like that again. I'm ashamed of myself. I recognize I'm extremely lucky he's even willing to try and work on it. Trust me, I often wonder why he is even still here. I guess I'm looking for advice from anyone who has been through infidelity and worked on rebuilding trust. Is there anything I'm missing in terms of what I could be doing to help my boyfriend? He said this morning that he just didn't know if he would be able to trust me, and I've said it's only been 2/3 weeks since we decided to go all in and try to make it work. Everything I've read tells me that it takes a long time to rebuild trust. I guess it would be good to know if anyone else has experienced a similar situation and how long it's taken them to rebuild that trust. I've reassured him that I'm not expecting anything from him and I completely understand why he doesn't and can't trust me at the moment, and that I don't want him to feel any pressure to trust me. I'm never going to lose patience and I will continue to put in 100% effort on my end to rebuild it, no matter how long it takes. TLDR, cheated on my boyfriend. Now trying to rebuild trust, but it's difficult because of all the lies, deceit from my end. Is there anything more I can be doing, and has anyone been in a similar situation who can give advice? Story 3. I just found out that my wife of 3 years and partner for over 8 years has been cheating on me for over a year. So I just found out that my wife, the love of my life, has been cheating on me with another guy for over a year, probably more like a year and a half plus. I suspected something last week, and although I always trusted her and respected her privacy, I got into her Facebook Messenger and all the evidence was right there. I confronted her with it and she denied it initially, but I showed her the evidence and she had to admit. The guy she cheated with is married, 43 years old, and has 2 kids. We don't have kids. I told his wife too. I am pretty upset about this, as you can imagine. I have kicked her out of the house. She is at her parents' house at the moment, but she still has lots of her stuff here. I know there's no way I can take her back. I could never trust her now, knowing it went on for so long, knowing all the lies she told. All of my heart just wants to pretend it isn't true and hug her and love her again. But I know that can't happen and it's awful. I have been in relationships that ended before. I know that life goes on. I know it's not the end. But I never gave myself so completely to anyone before. I opened up to her. She knew everything about me. It's going to be hard to move on and hard to trust someone again. I never posted in this subreddit before. I guess I'm looking for support. I feel so alone right now. I know I'll get through it, but it just happened and it's so hard. TLDR, partner, wife of over 8 years cheated, heartbroken equals. Update. Wow, I never expected so many wonderful, helpful, and encouraging responses. Thought I might get 5 or 6 comments, but the response has been amazing, so thanks to you all. This afternoon I have been considering my options, and part of me really wants to take her back, work through the problem and make things right again. In fact, it's what I want the most. I'd do anything to make it right. But there is no going back, is there? Most people who have commented say never take her back. And it's horrible, but I can't help but think they are right. How can it ever be the same? A year and a half of cheating and lies. It's all still so fresh, but I feel that I must make the decision to let her go. And that's what hurts the most, facing the fact that she won't ever be coming back. But if I don't decide it for myself, I won't be able to move on. It's crazy. This time last week I was planning my future with her. I had no idea. I thought everything was going great, and now it's all gone. But it is not the end for me. Thanks again to all who have shown their support. Update 2. So after not speaking to her since I found out about her and the other guy and kicked her out on set, I saw her today as I asked her to come over to sort some stuff out. The main focus was to see where she was in her head, to sort out the house and practicalities, and to see if there was even a faint glimmer of hope of reconciliation. And there isn't. After all the wonderful, caring responses from Redditors, some of which were more helpful and supportive than you could imagine, I knew all along which way the whole thing was going to go. The vast majority said do not take her back, that I could not take her back. Yet maybe out of fear of loneliness, maybe out of desperation, I still thought that there may be a chance. But after all that had happened with her prolonged cheating, I knew that unless she was totally remorseful and probably on her knees begging and crying, that there was no way I could even consider even trying to reconcile. She said she was sorry she had hurt me, said that she never meant for it to end this way, but it would seem that her and the other guy, even with his wife knowing, will still be carrying on. It's been going on for so long, I guess she's too invested in him now. I never asked her if there was any way of sorting it out, or if she wanted to. I think I had known all along that it was over. Today's meeting has brought the reality of that fact home to me, and even though I had held a faint glimmer of hope that she may genuinely want me back, and to make things right again, there was no sign of it from her from the word go, and I knew almost right away that we were most certainly over. She told me her reasons for starting the affair. It was what I already knew, about how I neglected her a couple of years ago. I know it doesn't justify a year and a half of infidelity and lies, but I can't help but feel a little responsible. Thoughts such as if only you had been there for her back then are going round in my head, and I know that I hurt her back then. For this I am sorry, but I had tried to make amends, and thought I had done so. Yet she had given up some time ago. I never gave up on her, even to the end. It brings closure to the whole thing, but all of her stuff is in the house, and she can't take it out yet as she does not have a permanent place to stay. She is still everywhere here, and I am finding being in the house the hardest. I asked her to get her stuff out at SAP so that I can begin moving on. I'm taking on the house, she will take what's hers, and leave what's mine. It will be an amicable split. She does not want any of my money, so apart from the logistics of the whole thing, I'm hoping this will go as smoothly as possible. So I'm ready to start over, I have no other choice. But for now I'm left with the loneliness and the pain of the whole thing. It hasn't even been a week yet since I found out. This time last week I was blissfully unaware. I want to start afresh as soon as possible and move on. As sad and upset as I am, I will not be defeated by this. I will move on with my life. Again, to all who replied, commented to my initial post, your words and advice have made so much difference, so much sense, and I was able to shortcut so much guessing, doubt, and self-blame. You are all wonderful and you give me faith. Thank you. TLDR, met cheating wife, no chance of reconciliation, doing best to move forward. Thanks for help and replies. Final update. So it's been over a week now since I found out about her cheating and kicked her out of the house. She came to get some stuff on set and it was the first time I was able to talk to her without getting too emotional. She is staying by herself in the middle of nowhere. The guy she cheated with is on lockdown by his wife and is staying with his wife for the kids' sake. But he is basically a prisoner in his own home. They have not had much contact and she said that she had been in a very lonely place. So have I. She seemed remorseful and thanked me for not making things too difficult for her. I still feel so much pain over it all. The house is a lonely place, and her stuff is gradually going, so I am starting to make it my own, but it feels as though all the life has gone out of the place. Nevertheless, I am getting on and making progress where I can. It has been suggested that she has been manipulated by this guy from day one. He caught her at a vulnerable time, built her confidence, and more or less took psychological advantage of her. I think there may be some truth to that, for the simple reason that she did not leave me at that time. She kept it a total secret, nobody knew that I am aware of. She was always free to leave, but never did, and seemed warm towards me, although distant, in retrospect. I know she should have known better, but I am really thinking that this guy has screwed her over, and I don't know if she sees it. After all, there is no future for them, and now she has lost everything. I think he's had her feeling good about herself, whilst getting what he wants from her. He is, after all, 13 years older. This is really playing on my mind, and I would like to get your opinions on it. I'm not looking for justification for her actions, just understanding of this ridiculously crazy situation. Again, thanks so much to everyone who has replied. Reddit has been one of the biggest sources of help for me at this time. TLDR, progressing but still very sad. Suspect wife taken psychological advantage of by the other guy and would like your opinions. Story 4. I found out my GF was cheating on me last month, so I disappeared without warning. She's breaking down and everyone in my life is demanding that I give her closure. I had been with my ex for 4 years and we lived together for 2. Last month I found definitive proof that she was cheating on me for at least 2 months. Most people in these situations get really angry and cause a scene, but that's just not my personality. I decided to go the other way and just disappear from her life entirely. I never told her I discovered she was cheating. I just packed up and left without an explanation. Lots of people have since told me this is a childish thing to do, but I was upset. Rather than punch a hole in a wall or something, I thought this was a better way to move on and express how damaging what she did was. You want to throw our relationship away over some asshole from work? Fine. I'll act like the last 4 years never happened. Our lease was coming up soon and I have a lot of savings, so I just paid my half of the remaining balance. I found a small studio on the other side of town and moved out one Saturday while she spent the day with her family. I was even really generous with the division of what had been things we bought together. I took mostly just the stuff that I brought into our home. She came back to find it was as if I never lived there. Once I moved, I blocked her on all social media and on my phone. But that didn't stop my friends and our mutual friends from blowing my phone asking what happened. I tried to explain it, but they all seemed really concerned about my ex who was having constant panic attacks over being abandoned. Everyone tells me that even though she made mistakes, she deserves some kind of closure and that I'm a monster for treating her the way I am. It's mostly because she's having these panic attacks. She's saying the only way they'll stop is if she can talk with me to apologize, get closure. I'm not interested, honestly. The worst is that my mom is on her side. She thinks I'm being cruel by just picking up and leaving without saying a word to my ex. They have become very close over the last 4 years, and my mom is angry that I'm letting her keep having panic attacks. When I visited home this week, my ex showed up while I was there. My mom had invited her. When I realized she was at the front door, I snuck out a back window before she could find me and drove away. Now my mom is saying I'm not welcome at home until I talk with my ex. Am I being unreasonable? I feel like the whole world is turning against me. My ex threw our relationship away. I could have been an asshole and screamed my face off at her, but instead, I've just been leaving her alone. TLDR, my ex was cheating on me. I never confronted her and instead just disappeared from her life. She's having panic attacks and everyone says I need to give her closure. Story 5. I cheated on my husband of 14 years and lost him forever. This is long, but it's something I needed to get off of my chest. My husband and I have been together for 16 years and married for 14. We have 2 daughters who are 13 and 12. About 3 months ago, I cheated on him with my coworker once and immediately regretted it. To be honest, I still haven't figured out the real reason I cheated. On the surface level, the reason would be that my husband was too caught up with work for a couple of months and I felt neglected and unappreciated at times. I know that isn't the real reason, so I'm trying to figure out what is, through individual counseling. I only cheated on him that one time and immediately told him the next day because I couldn't bottle up my guilt and shame. He was shocked at first but then went on to call me the most horrid names. I deserved it. I deserved a lot more than that. I don't even know how it got to the point of me sleeping with my coworker. It started with innocent flirting and before I knew it I made the worst mistake of my life by sleeping with him. I wish I'd gotten hit by a car that day before sleeping with him. I cut off all contact with my coworker and gave up my phone to my husband. I wanted to reassure him that I was willing to make this work on his terms, whatever they were, as long as he would give me another chance. Even though in my heart I knew that I wanted another chance to prove myself, I told him that I would understand if he went through with a divorce. Anyways, I told my husband that I would do anything to regain his trust and expressed my sorrow and regret for having hurt him so much. My husband has always been the type of guy to give a person only one chance. Even in his friendships, if the trust had been broken, he wouldn't give the other person another chance. He said that he wanted a divorce, but then the whole quarantine thing happened and he stayed in the house for about 2 months and didn't proceed with the divorce. For the first month he treated me very coldly and the only time we talked was when it had to do with our daughters. I slept on the couch and tried to give him as much space as he needed and only reminded him from time to time that if he ever wanted to work things out I'd be more than willing to and would be completely devoted to the process of him working things out. He even said some spiteful things during that month and distanced himself from me completely. During the second month there was a change as he began talking to me again. We talked about daily stuff and even watched movies together with the girls as a family. I felt like he wanted to try reconciling and I was so happy. I was thrilled that there might be a chance to save my family, to save us. Eventually, through the next couple of days I could sense us becoming friends all over again. He even invited me to sleep on the bed again. It was really working out and I reminded him that he could talk about anything he wanted with me. A couple of weeks passed by and we were getting along even better. We were spending time as a family again and had gotten closer with each other as well. I felt really good about the way things were going, but I wish I'd suggested marriage counseling. I just didn't want to pressure him and have him think that I wanted to sweep this situation under the rug or that I was trying to influence him to not divorce me. One night we were drinking a bit, just talking in our bedroom, and I felt a genuine connection rebuilding. It felt like we were falling for each other all over again, and it made me so happy. This is the part I regret now. I decided to make a move on him and straddled him while we were laughing at a joke. We looked each other in the eyes, and so naturally I began making out with him. It honestly felt like we were 20 all over again. He kissed me back as well, but after a while he just started crying. He told me to stop and said that he couldn't. I felt so awful because I felt like he wanted to, but didn't at the same time. It broke my heart to directly see just how badly my stupid decision had hurt him. I told him that I was sorry and we went to sleep. The reason I say I regret doing this is because I feel like this moment pushed him away forever. 2 days later he informed me that he wanted to go through with a divorce. He said that he just doesn't think he could make it work even after trying for the last 2 months. I wanted to fight with him about it, but I just told him that I understood. We had already decided before that if a divorce was to happen it would be on fair terms. Sure, we'd both have lawyers, but we agreed on a lot of the stuff together. He wanted to take a 2-week trip but would come back to pick up the girls after his trip. We both mutually agreed that we'd split the time with the girls after his trip. They would spend half of the week with him and the other half with me. I even helped him pack up his stuff, and when we finished I just bawled my out and we hugged it out. After his 2 weeks trip he came back and it felt good seeing him again, but I knew it wasn't the same. He just smiled and we made small talk before he took the girls. We're both really good parents and want the best for our kids. Today I got served divorce papers. It hurts so much to know that I lost my best friend cause I was stupid. Sometimes I roll over to his side of the bed in the morning and I hate how I don't feel his body there anymore. I miss his smell, his smile, his voice. I miss him filling up the entire room with his loud, adorable laugh. I miss him so much. The thing that hurts me the most in all of this is knowing how badly I hurt the person I love the most. I wish I could go back in time and undo what I did, but I can't. So now here I am writing about it on Reddit while crying when there's nothing that I can do about it. I wish I could let him see for himself what I genuinely feel in my heart about how sorry I am and about how I would be the most devoted wife ever if he just gave me another chance. To let him know just how much I love him and that I'd literally do anything for him. I messed up the most perfect thing that ever happened to me. I wish I could get him back, but I know that I lost him forever.